Good day and welcome to Deep Thought on the Colwood Crawl here in Victoria. Today we're going to be talking about coming from ego and learning if you truly are willing to learn about mastery and all of that stuff. One of the things that we know about mastery is that in order to be able to master a thing, that you have to be able to let go of your ego around it. And when I'm talking about let go of your ego, it's not that it's let go. It's actually thinking higher than your ego and not allowing the ego to run the show. And the ego is something that is trying to convince you that you're an incredible person and all of that stuff, and that you're right, and ego has to be right, and ego has to feel good, and so on and so forth.
After 2 miles, take the exit right, 10, towards View Royal.
They really want you on the Island Highway.
Apparently. Anyway, you heard my GPS. Anyway, I hear people toting that they want to become masters or to become spiritually enlightened, as they put it, a lot. And I ended up getting into a discussion with somebody about that whole idea. I said the truth that I see is most people don't. Most people just want to alleviate what pain they're already feeling, and so they figure that here's another way to be able to try and do that, to alleviate the internal pain or the perceived pain that they have. And so on that level, they start doing work, whether it's Reiki work, whether it's meditation work, whether it's a whole bunch of other stuff. They start undertaking this, but what they don't realize is that they're doing it from a premise, an ego premise, which means I want to stop hurting. And so their intention is to stop hurting, not to grow, not to walk through the fire. They just want to alleviate the pain. And so anything painful is perceived as wrong or bad, or when somebody confronts you on your stuff and says, hey, your ego is taking control. No, it's not. It's and of course, when somebody comes back at you like that, you know that, yeah, it is. But, if the person wants to continue denying it and all of that stuff, it's, to me, is like, okay, you didn't really want to grow. You just wanted to pretend to, right? When we're talking about compassion, when we're talking about patience, when we're talking about understanding and acceptance, when we're talking about love, we're not talking about this as some esoteric thing. I'm not talking about it as, oh, well, it all feels good getting there, right? We've got so many wounds and so many things that our ego is trying to protect us from that, it's really tough to get past it. It's also really tough to admit when you're wrong. I say that with the big wrong face. And, it's not about being wrong or right. I mean, it's certainly a subjective judgment, and we can get into that argument some other time. But you have to be able to be wrong. You have to be able to say, yeah, my ego was really running the show there, and that's not something that I desire. But most people don't really know what they desire when they get into this. They get into it for spiritual learning or understanding or a higher power, or what they perceive to be is something that feels good and that can explain all of this stuff, when the truth is it's already there. Everything that you have and need is already there. You've covered it up with wounds and scars, and there's no problem that you did. But the problem is you get into something like this, and you work and you work and you work until you're blue in the face and you're still where you were. And talk about how disillusioning that is. Well, part of it is you're not willing to let go of the pain. You're not willing to let go of anything. When it comes right down to it, you just want the pain to go away. You don't want to have to do anything other than that. It's like, oh, good, the pain's gone. I can just go about my business and let my ego run the show and all of that stuff. This doesn't work that way. And so, when we get right down to what is your real intention? Is your real intention actually to do the work? And I mean, it's not just the work, but what's the intention behind the work? What are you really willing to let go of? Are you really willing to let go of this or that? I mean, I was talking to Talia the other day and was saying that if I were some kind of guru and a beautiful woman walked into me, you know, nice, clean and presentable and the high heels and stuff like that, and she came in and she said, "Oh, guru," which is not me, by the way, but if I were, she would say, "Oh, guru, I'm searching for spiritual enlightenment. What is it that I must do to attain this?" And I would look at her and say, "Okay, no problem. You want a spiritual enlightenment? I'll have an exercise for you. I want you to go home on your vacation here and not bathe for 2 weeks. Don't put makeup on. Don't do anything. Don't bathe. Don't clean yourself. Nothing for 2 weeks." And of course, Talia said, "Well, why? Why are you saying that?" Because she needs to figure out what she's willing to do in order to grow. Right? It has nothing to do with anything. She could not bathe for a day and come back and say, "Screw this, I'm not doing that." And I'll say, "Okay, now we know what you are willing to do to grow. So let's work with that." But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to this, and I posted this on Awakening Truths and stuff, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to give up? Are you willing to be humiliated? Oh, that's a big one for everybody. Are you willing to be humiliated in this? Because I don't know anybody that's grown and that starts to be able to accept other people as who they are until they actually understand that the humiliation, one, is an illusion, but that they can walk through it and be humiliated and come back in humility and say, "I was incorrect," or "That is not who I wish to present myself to be," or "That is not who I want to be." But most people don't even know who they want to be. They just want the pain to stop. And coming at spiritual growth or enlightenment or mastery or even just personal growth from that perspective means that you missed it. And that you're probably going to miss a lot of it. You're going to be doing 20 to 30 times the amount of work because you're trying to make the world responsible for your pain. Or you're going to try and change the world to suit you in your box. And if you're doing the integration work, the meditation work, to try and get the world to change, you're going to be there a long time, many, many lifetimes, my Buddha. So, in and of itself, the ego certainly is not a bad thing. We've all got it. We've all got to deal with it. It's just there. But when you acknowledge that, yeah, you know what, we allow it to be in control a lot. It just depends on if it's okay. If you think it's okay for the ego to be in control all the time, there's nothing wrong with it. You can live your life like that because that's where you choose to live. I'm all good with that. But most people don't even know that they're choosing that on the level of their life and how they want it to look. They don't even realize that they started doing this personal growth thing from that standpoint of being the ego saying, "I just want to stop hurting. I wish I had something to blame this on, or I wish somebody would come and pat me on the head and tell me it's okay." And the truth is I can pat you on the head and tell you that it's okay because I know it is. No, but does that help you? No. And I mean, really? It might actually put a nice little band-aid on it and make it feel good. Mommy will kiss that better. And there's nothing wrong with a good kiss because, man, sometimes when I was a kid and I got a scrape or something and Mom came up and kissed that better, it really did feel better. But only because it's something that she did because she cared. It's not something that she did that cured it. The disinfectant and all of the stuff that stung. That was what cured it. The kiss on the knee is just, sort of to give you a little bit of moral help. The truth is this isn't, I haven't found this to be fun all the time or happy all the time. I initially, when I got into this, it wasn't fun barely at all, right? It was not. But the rewards that I got, walking through the pain and walking, you know, and I have to say, you know, I mean, when I do something, I'm going to give you an example of, you know, talking to my wife and admitting that I was wrong about an assumption of another person, which she was telling me was wrong from the beginning, right? And when I come back and I say, you were right, I'm willing to walk through whatever slings and arrows come from that. You know, whatever anger's brought up, anything. Because it's not that I deserve it. Not at all. You know, and not that the anger needs to be there or anything. It's just, we're people. This happens. And the anger comes. And I have to walk through it. Because that's who I want to be. I don't want to be somebody that's right all the time. I don't want to be somebody that's, you know, trying to fit the world into my little box. I want to fit my box into the world. I think that would be kind of cool. You know, I got a long way to go. You know, and I'm sure that there's people out there that are going, oh boy, you know, your words are so great and stuff. And then I say I've got a long way to go, and they go, oh my God, don't say that. You know, it's like, no, I'm going to be doing this to the day that I die. And the truth is I love it. Every time that I'm able to get past my stuff, every time that I'm able to look at somebody in the eye in humility and say, you know, I do apologize, and I threw a judgment at you, and I did this, and I did that, and I do apologize. And walking through whatever anger that they feel, or that they feel justified in feeling, whatever that is, I pat myself on the back. I love it, because it is me moving past my ego. It is me moving through that and being the person that I've always wanted to be. And I guess that's what you got to ask yourself. Who have you always wanted to be? And why aren't you being that?